Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Petty Revenge. Our first post is by Ultra Superman. Call bylaw on me because I'm too sick to mow my grass. Enjoy your view of my 8-foot fence. So the call about the long grass was kinda a last straw thing. The backstory is, my grandpa passed away 2 years ago and I moved into his house. He was pretty healthy, but he let the yard go down a bit. The grass was maintained, but the trees were overgrown. His pond and patio was dirty, etc. Our neighbor years ago sold their yard to a property builder. Our properties are in an L shape, so our neighbor was using our backyard as her virtual backyard. For the past 2 years, I have been trying my best to maintain the backyard while also working and dealing with my grandpa's stuff. Well, for the past few weeks, the backyard has fallen a bit as stress from work has creeped in, and I was sick for a few weeks. Before this, the neighbor has always had nitpicks, but I mostly ignored them. But they rang my door one day to complain about mess in the back, and I told them, I have a life outside this house. If it bugs you that much, you're more than welcome to do the work. Following that, bylaw came by, and they were very understanding about my situation, and gave me more than enough time to feel better and mow the lawn. Well, that whole thing pissed me off, and I wanted to get the typical white picket fence, as there wasn't a fence, and we were passively looking for a dog. So I decided, screw it, and built the largest fence I could, and since her house was right on the property line, she now looks out the window, and instead of seeing my backyard, she sees just a wood fence. Our next post is by Dismal Attempt. Called out guy who denied flirting just for fun. The other day I was having a really rough time. My fiancé and I are stuck in a shelter right now for our safety. 2 weeks in an outdoor shelter with no privacy except to pee or shower around hundreds of people will break you down. I was at a point that all the noise was making me bawl my eyes out, and we were just picking up a phone from the charging room before leaving to get some air in therapy sessions. Fiancé is inside and a guy comes up to me trying to flirt. I mention I'm with fiancé and his response is, I'm from LA where we don't care about that. I reject 3 attempts to get my info, and without really thinking, I type his number into a random note so he sees me do it, and hopefully goes away. Finally his attention goes elsewhere, and he leaves me alone. I know he probably couldn't realize how upset I was, but we've all seen it when a person is pale, near tears, their voice is shaky. I just looked like I was about to break, and it was obvious I'd been crying all day. The next day we're in the same line, fiancé goes in, they let a certain amount of people in at a time, and I'm sitting outside. Guy from before takes a step close to me, and under my breath I say don't do it. But he seems to hear that, cause he stops in his tracks and goes around me to the back of the line. I call fiancé and ask him to hurry back just in case. I made it clear he wasn't currently bothering me, but just wanted to feel okay. When he gets out, he respectfully asked the guy if it was me he hit on. Guy denied it and got hostile, and fiancé apologized, explained his only intention is to ask whoever it was to not do it again because we're really struggling right now. But I'm the petty one, and I'm annoyed that he denied it when he'd been staring at me in line for 10+ minutes, pulled up notes, saw I still had his number, and put it in text now. Called it, and his phone rang to which I said it was me calling the guy who gave me his number yesterday. We didn't push it further. I just wanted to prove my point to my fiancé and the nosy busybodies watching cause they love drama. Haven't seen him around since then luckily. Also text now is a fake number app so he didn't get my real info. Our next post is by Golden Potato. I got revenge on my bully. In school I was relentlessly bullied. 2 girls in particular had it out for me. I was shy, loved to read, didn't do the popular stuff, so I was the perfect victim. They'd literally torture me by holding me down in the staircase when we were alone and sticking pinboard pins into my arms, legs, and feet. When I tried to tell teachers, they said I fell onto them as they were lying on the floor or I did it myself. It didn't help that one of them was the daughter of one of the teachers at the school. Well, I finally got my revenge. I went to try out a new ice cream shop, and lo and behold, one of the girls was serving the ice cream. I have multiple allergies, including milk and gluten, of which the ice cream shop claimed to be cautious, so I ordered gluten and dairy-free ice cream, and set my phone camera up to film the area where the ice cream was prepared because I saw that the girl had recognized me and was certain she'd try something, and she did. I caught her on camera putting a spoonful of milk in the bottom of the bowl and crumbling the gluten-consisting wafers over everything, then camouflaging it with the last scoop of ice cream. She put it down in front of me and said, "I hope you enjoy it." I sweetly smiled at her and asked if she could get the owner of the shop because I wanted to thank her for being so welcoming to guests with allergies. You can guess what happened next. I showed the owner the video and told her that I'd like to press charges because in my country it is considered a criminal offense called inflicting bodily harm to serve someone an allergen when you know the person is allergic. The bully will never work anywhere where she'll come in contact with food again, and she'll have this on her criminal record for years. Our next post is by Sonati. Car salesman talks himself out of a sale about 7 years ago. I, 26 at the time, got a new job, which meant we didn't need our 2 cars, so my wife, 27 at the time, decided that we would sell both our cars and buy a bigger, nicer single car. We both had well-paying and stable jobs and additionally had the support of a low-interest loan from parents to fund a purchase. We did our research extensively and decided that there were 2 options for us, a Ford Mondeo or a Kia Ceed with our preference for the Mondeo. We'd worked out all the financials and had the spreadsheets to calculate that we could afford both secondhand. At this point, we found our local dealerships and booked appointments with both to test drive the cars so we could make a final decision. We arrived at the Kia dealership and all went fine. We liked the car and the salesperson was helpful. We happily trundled across to the Ford garage for our appointment and were met by John the salesman. John was an old white salesman who had clearly been selling cars for years, and he had clearly made a snap decision about the young couple in front of him. John sat us down at his desk and proceeded to tell us how expensive and exclusive the Mondeo was, and he wasn't sure we would be able to afford it. He asked us our budget, and we told him, but he didn't seem to accept this. He wanted us to tell him our salaries and other financial data, and we refused, saying we just wanted to test drive one. He told us he couldn't let us do that unless he knew we were serious buyers. We even asked if we could at least see inside one, and he refused that too. We left and walked back into the Kia dealership and bought the car we test drove earlier and were very happy with it, keeping it for the next 6 years. This wasn't enough for me though. I took a picture of the Kia and sent it to the manager of the Ford branch to say that we had bought the Kia because of the actions of John. The reply from the manager was surprising. He replied that he was devastated because their margins were so tight and explained that John would receive a reprimand for losing them money. Moral of the story: don't judge a book by its cover. Our next post is by Trick Arcadia. Cheat on me, well, eat poop. I was dating this guy, we'll call him Trevor. Trevor was 21 and I was just turning 18. He was dating this girl I'd known through mutual friends for about 3 years. They broke up right before summer and suddenly he was in my DMs. He had an apartment with a roommate and I ended up staying over a lot. I even introduced my best friend to his roommate and they started dating. We all went on a road trip to California for a concert and went on double dates a lot. It really was a good summer. That August, we got a puppy together. He already had an older dog, and by then I was practically living at his place. His roommate eventually took issue with this, understandably so, but wanted me to pay 1/3 of the rent. I objected that I would pitch in on my boyfriend's half of rent because we shared the same space, and I often was cleaning up after both of them, on top of both dogs. Their lease was ending in another month or 2 at this point, and his roommate ended up leaving early without even cleaning his own space. Trevor and I signed a lease together with one of his other buddies. Things were honestly going great until January. I get Facebook messages from Alex. Mind you, we were friends on Facebook, but I'd never actually spoken to or hung out with her. I had no desire to, considering Trevor cheated on his previous girlfriend with Alex. He made himself out to be the victim in this, essentially blaming his ex-girlfriend for him being lonely and seeking validation with someone else. This should have been a red flag, but I was so stupid and so smitten at the time. She basically says, "Keep your man in check, he's always hitting me up, and I'm not about it." I was caught off guard and just said for sure, "I appreciate it." I called him at work and confronted him immediately. He didn't even try to deny it, and I was so mad. He was the first guy that I first had lived with, and we had a 6-month-old puppy together. I had met his whole family and really liked his mom. The whole thing just felt devastating. Within the week, I moved back home and took our puppy. Thankfully, I was able to get him and our roommate to sign me off of the lease. I had to come back for a few things and went into our bathroom where I immediately noticed a hairbrush, toothbrush, and other female toiletries. Mind you, our roommate had his own bathroom, and ours was attached to our bedroom. Without a second thought, I grabbed both of their toothbrushes and gave the toilet a good scrub. I left without saying a word. Fast forward a few weeks and he is begging me to take him back. I told him not only do I never want anything to do with him again, but that both of them had been brushing their teeth with poop. Not only did I dodge a major bullet by getting away from that douchebag with little collateral damage, I walked away with my wonderful dog Lucy, who just turned 8. Trevor actually DM'd me about 8 months ago, out of the blue, and said cheating on me was the biggest mistake and that he wanted to see me and Lucy. I told him that would not be happening ever, and getting away from him was the best thing that ever happened to us. My standards went through the roof after this relationship, and I would never settle for the stuff I did when I was younger. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.